Darkcast Network, bringing our indie podcasts out of the shadows.
Just before we dive into this week's episode, here's a promo.
Hey there, friend. My name's Sarai, and I host a spooky, casual podcast called Freaky AF, where I tell you stories of conspiracies, true crime, and of the supernatural. So if that's your kind of shiz, come check us out. I'm sure we'll be great friends. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, and a bunch of other places. Or you can look us up on Twitter and Instagram. We're Freaky AF Pod. That's FREAKYAFPOD. Come get spooked, y'all.
Welcome to CrimeDivers. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jill.
And welcome to today's episode.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's episode and hope you're all well.
We do. And Jill, where are we in the world?
We're in Ireland.
Oh, Ireland.
Yes.
We haven't been to Ireland for a long time.
No, not for a while. We did the Deadly Dentist one. That was in Ireland.
Yes. And I did that. I can't remember if it was Northern Ireland or Ireland I did. But I did do an Irish one.
Like about 3 years ago.
Yeah. But still did one.
Well, not quite 3 years ago because we haven't been doing the podcast for quite 3 years yet.
Nearly our third year.
Nearly 3 years.
Yeah, alright, so a couple of years ago I did do one.
And I'll just tell everybody that it was a Patreon episode and Laura had the person's name wrong all the way through it, so I had to apologise at the end of the episode when I realised that you had the wrong name and I had to apologise.
Yeah, but that was in the early days.
That was.
I mean, although we're still fucking up now.
I was going to say, are we any better now?
I don't know, maybe not, but, you know, yeah, that wasn't great. But anyway, so we're in Ireland.
Yeah, we're in Ireland.
And what's it called?
A Deadly Knock.
Oh, a deadly knock.
Yes, at the door.
Oh.
Oh, I sounded a bit Irish there.
You did, didn't you?
Right.
But shall we dive in?
I was just going to say, shall we dive in?
Let's dive in.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about the murder of 14-year-old Anna Kriegel. So, if anyone doesn't want to listen, because, you know, child, totally understand.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
So, Anna was born Anastasia, and she was born on the 18th of February 2004 in Russia. But unfortunately, she was orphaned and ended up in a local orphanage at 2 years old.
Oh, what a shame.
So in August 2006, an Irish woman called Geraldine Kriegel and her French-born husband, Patrick, visited the orphanage and straight away fell in love with Anna. So they adopted her and they took her back to live in Ireland.
Nice.
So Patrick was a teacher and Geraldine worked for Ireland's Transportation Department and they lived in a place called Lucan, which is about 7 miles away from Dublin. They had no cultural ties to Russia, but they tried to make sure that Anna kept connection, make sure that they kept connections with Russian culture. So whatever kind of things that Russian people celebrate, you know, they would, you know. So she always knew where she came from. She knew her roots. So Anna was a happy child. She was loud. Join the club.
I was going to say, I know somebody that's loud.
Hi, your daughter.
And you. She gets it from you.
She does. Yeah, she loved to dance. Oh, that's your daughter as well.
I gets it for you that you can dance.
At least she tries.
Yeah, that's true.
And she was a member of a dance group. She had her own little space in the house with mirrors so that she could practice her dancing and singing as well. So she was also a good swimmer. She loved gymnastics, and people would actually think she was much older. Because she was so tall for her age. Like, for instance, by the time she was 14, she was 5'8".
Oh, wow.
And could have passed for 18.
That's like taller than us.
That's way taller than us.
I know. Holy crap.
Well, I'm 5'2".
I'm like 5'4", I think.
Are you sure?
No, I'm about 5'3".
I would say 5'3" maybe. I think you're just a little bit taller than me.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, 5'8" when you're 14. And she could have passed for 18.
That's tall.
Yeah. So when she started primary school, she made friends quickly and she did well with her schoolwork. But as time passed, she was struggling to keep friends. And when she was approaching like high school age, her parents and her teachers were a bit worried as she was still a bit immature and vulnerable. And she did actually have a difficult start to her high school life. At the age of 11, doctors found a large tumour deep inside Anna's right ear, and it had to be removed, and unfortunately she lost half of her hearing ability.
Right.
So she was now partially deaf. And on top of that, her vision began to deteriorate because it was found that the tumour had actually caused damage to her optic nerves.
Right.
So that left her like severely short-sighted as well. So she had hearing impaired and very short-sighted.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, as if that's not bad enough, a couple of years later, Anna was diagnosed with scoliosis, I think it's pronounced, which is where the spine twists and curves to the side.
Yeah.
Scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
That's it. Scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
So I had a wee Google just to see how it affects people. And the signs of scoliosis are a visibly curved spine, leaning to one side, uneven shoulders, one shoulder or hip sticking out, and the ribs sticking out on one side.
Right.
So I'm not sure if she had pain, because I read on the NHS website that some people have pain and others don't. It obviously, I'm assuming, depends on the severity of it.
Yeah.
But I would have assumed that it would have impacted her, like her dancing and her playing sports.
I was going to say she might not be able to do that.
Which is the things that she loved. So now Anna was starting to struggle academically. She was partially deaf. She was severely short-sighted, and her teachers theorised that she had moderate learning difficulties and needed additional support. So, unfortunately, as we know how cruel kids can be, Anna was being bullied. But not only at school, but online as well.
Oh, bloody hell. That's worse.
She was bullied for being so tall, and other girls called her ugly, which is totally unacceptable, however anybody looks. But she was actually beautiful. Obviously I've seen pictures of her, and she was pretty, So I don't know if they were jealous of her because she looked...
Or just kids being cruel as hell as they can.
Because you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, right, you're 5'8". You're good looking, you're pretty. Model material.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
all these tall models,
You do find that a lot of things that are said to kids come from the kids' own insecurities sometimes, So there probably was a bit of jealousy of the fact that maybe she was beautiful or whatever, so it's a shame really, because...
Yeah, whatever the reason, bullying is not acceptable.
I just wish people would not comment on people's appearances, because at the end of the day we all come in different shapes and sizes, heights, widths, different features, are all different, like nobody's the same, and so what? You know what I mean? It should be about who you are as a person inside, not what you look like on the outside. I mean, it's just a shell, isn't it? It's just your body.
Yeah.
And it's about what kind of person you are.
It's about your personality and stuff, and if you don't want to play with somebody, then don't play with them. Well, if you don't want to be friends with somebody, don't be friends with them.
Exactly, but you don't need to go and make their life a misery by being horrible. I mean,
I know, it's awful. Kids are cruel. The thing
is, I mean, unfortunately, they don't have, kids, they don't have that mental capacity to understand the consequences of their actions at that age. I mean, because I'm sure we were guilty of ourselves when we were kids. We probably said things about, people and made fun of them and not really thinking what effect that's going to have on them. But I think because mental health, again, we've spoken about so many times how current and how, a big thing it is in the world now, everybody's mental health. That's where I think the kids should be more educated about it these days.
Yeah, definitely.
They should be more aware of what effect their words or their actions have on somebody else. And even if you think it, doesn't mean you have to say it.
Exactly.
You can just keep it to yourself, because at least if the person doesn't know about it, it doesn't hurt them.
It's not going to affect them, is it, if they don't know about it?
Because, I mean, you're never going to stop people thinking about things and about people, but you don't have to, share that with them.
Exactly. So you're right. Kids should be educated. I mean, I don't think bullying's ever going to be completely stopped. There's always going to happen. But, if it could make some of the kids just think before they speak.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I mean, you're probably
never... And that goes for adults as well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Not just kids.
You're never going to eradicate it completely because, unfortunately we're human beings and it's just the way we are. But I certainly think it could probably ease the situation for... some people at least. It could definitely make it better for people. I mean, you're
not going to do any harm, surely. Educate them.
Exactly. 100%. I feel like it should be part of your education now, is that you're taught, obviously, about mental health and about what your unkind words could do to somebody else, or how it might make you feel if you were the one on the receiving end of those unkind words. So
yeah, totally agree. So at some point, our classmates found out that she'd been adopted, and she was bullied for that too. The other kids would say she had been abandoned because she was ugly and unlovable.
See, that's just awful.
I know, it just makes you feel so sad for her, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Anna had a YouTube channel where she would dance and do makeup, and she had over 100 subscribers, And some did leave nice comments, but others would be nasty and tell her to go die, or they were going to kill her, or to go and tell her to go and kill herself. Like, really nasty comments.
Do you know what I think would be a great thing? Sorry, it is still on topic, but off topic. Is like, you know how it's like kids have social media these days. I really genuinely believe there should be like a restriction on like them commenting on stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like they should.
Well, you can turn the comments off yourself.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So maybe that's what they should be doing, is just don't let anybody comment on it.
Yeah, because I think there should definitely be a. You can watch these videos, you can look at these things, but you can't make a comment on them. At a certain. I mean, I know obviously adults do it as well, of course. I mean,
of course, adults are the worst for it. Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, there definitely, you know, there could be some kind of restriction there.
I don't blame people for turning their comments off.
No.
But yeah, it would be good if they just turn the comments on. Just leave the like and dislike. So then people are entitled to their opinion. Not everybody is going to like your videos.
Of course not.
And it gives you a better idea of what people like and what people don't for your future content.
Of course.
So, but just don't comment.
Yeah, exactly.
So Anna's mum, Geraldine, would take Anna's phone and tablet off her every night. And she insisted that Anna give her the passwords for all her social media. And Geraldine would look and she would see some very explicit messages on various platforms. Some of them were sexual in nature and others were just threatening.
Oh, God.
So obviously Gerald and Patrick were really worried, and they took screenshots of the abuse that she had received from her classmates. And they showed them to the school, but unfortunately nothing was really done about it and the abuse just got worse. So one day Anna was walking home and she was approached by 4 of her male classmates. They wouldn't let her pass and they were shouting insults at her, and one of them even demanded sex and started groping her.
Oh, God.
Luckily Anna managed to get away and she ran home. And she was of course really shaken by it, and her parents reported the assault to the police. And the boy who groped Anna just got cautioned because I'm not saying it's right, but I just don't really know what they are supposed to do apart from that, you know.
Yeah, I don't think they could have done much more than that, to be honest.
I mean, at least they got a caution,
yeah,
at least something.
Of course.
The school still they didn't do anything about the relentless bullying, and it got to the point where one of her parents would take her to and from school every day because they were that worried. And as much as Anna tried to stay positive, obviously she could only take so much, and she fell into a deep depression. On one occasion, in 2017, she self-harmed, and there was another day she went to school with a black eye painted on herself. I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was on, for some reason I'm thinking it's on her hands, but I'm not sure if I've read that somewhere or. But her mum thinks that this was an expression of the pain that she felt inside.
Right.
But the school just suspended her rather than talking to her about it.
Really?
Yeah. See, it's not just kids that need educated.
Oh no, exactly.
She was again suspended one day when she just snapped and she attacked one of her bullies. So she got suspended, which, yeah, I get that, but why aren't the other ones getting suspended?
What's led her to that moment? I mean, if her parents have been in touch with school saying this and that's going on, then you're right. And for that incident, she's obviously been in the wrong to attack someone. But at the same time, what she went through and what's happened to the people that have been bullying her.
Exactly. So, for Anna and her parents, this was so unfair. She suffered from bullying every day, and they did nothing. But the one time that she's had enough and she fought back, it was her that got punished. Which, I totally get that. That's so not fair.
No, definitely
I understand her getting punished for snapping because, she shouldn't be attacking anybody. But what about all the times...
What's led up to that moment? She's obviously snapped for a reason.
But it was found that Anna had set up fake social media accounts to send abusive messages to herself.
Oh, right.
So she was basically bullying herself, and it's not known why, but I kind of wondered, this is just my own opinion, nobody else's, but I did wonder if that was a form of self-harm. Not actually physically harming herself.
She deserved that. She thought that she deserved that.
Yeah, because she thought that because everybody else is bullying her, I might as well just bully myself. I'll just join in.
Physically self-harming, she's mentally self-harming herself. Yeah, I
did wonder.
I could agree with that. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, I haven't seen that written down. It's, I haven't seen anybody else saying anything like that. But that was just my thoughts. So that's just my opinion only. I don't know why she set up the fake social medias or what and sent messages to herself, but I did wonder if that could have been the reason.
Yeah, totally agree.
So Anna's parents decided to send her to counselling. So she was 14 now and she was having weekly sessions. So that brings us to Monday the 14th of May 2018. So that morning, she asked her mum for a note to excuse her from school early as she had a counselling session.
Mm-hmm.
So her mum wrote her note, said she wrote her.
Mm-hmm.
And she must have actually went to school by herself that time, actually. So maybe it wasn't all the time that she was... Because I think her mum saying that the last time she saw her was at the house.
Mm.
So Anna left school at 2:30 that day and attended her counselling session as planned. Then afterwards, she went home and she went up to her bedroom and got changed. She texted her mum saying, like, asking to talk to her, but Geraldine was in a meeting at work, so she must have texted back and said that she'll call her when she was finished. So Anna's dad, Patrick, he was sitting in the garden when she was in her bedroom. He was in the garden, and at 4:55 he heard a knock at the door and he heard voices. So he got up to go and see who it was and saw that Anna had answered the door and was talking to a boy.
Right.
So Patrick didn't know his name, but he vaguely recognised him as one of Anna's classmates. So there are two boys in this case, and they haven't been named because of their ages.
Okay.
So they're known as Boy A and Boy B.
Right, okay.
So this was Boy B.
Right, okay.
And both these boys were 13. Just remember that. They're 13.
Yeah, okay.
So Patrick later said that Anna looked confused as to why the boy was there, because like he knew that they weren't friends.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So like, she was kind of like,
why are they doing
why?
this?
Like, what's going on? So Anna and Boy B had like a hushed conversation, and then Anna went upstairs to get a hoodie and went back downstairs and told her dad that she was going out. So Patrick was like kind of quite wary about it, and he's like, have you not, she had an exam the next second day, so he's like, have you not got studying to do? And she was like, no, like, I'll do it when I get back, I'm not going to be long. She said that she was just popping to nearby St. Catherine's Park.
Okay.
So he later told the court that she seemed happy, and as she walked out the door, she gave him a massive smile.
Okay.
And he watched them walk towards the park. They weren't talking, and Patrick thought it was weird that Boy B was walking ahead of Anna, and she was like trying to keep up. But Patrick said he wasn't actually that bothered, because overall he was just happy that after everything that Anna had been through, maybe she did have a friend.
Yeah.
You know, maybe things were getting better, you know.
Yeah, because you try to see the positive in the situation, don't you?
Of course.
You're never going to think, like, the worst case scenario. You're always going to think, oh, this is great. Like,
Well, he was wary at first, but then he said she had this massive smile on her face, so whatever this boy has said to her at the door, she's like happy about it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go and get my hoodie and I'm going to go out. So obviously her dad's not going to think anything of it, like, oh, nice one, she's actually got a friend. Like, that things are maybe about to turn round.
Yeah, totally.
So when Geraldine got home from work at 5:20, she was immediately concerned that Anna had gone out with a classmate. She said that Anna had no friends and that nobody calls for Anna.
Right.
So she was suspicious as to what this boy wanted. I mean, that poor kid she didn't have any friends at all. That's awful.
That was definitely awful.
So she texted Anna saying, home now. But when she got no reply, she texted, answer me now or I'm phoning the police. So she just knew straight away something was wrong. She also phoned Anna, but it just rang out. Geraldine walked to St. Catherine's Park to see if she could find her, but she was nowhere to be seen. She then went home and got in the car and like drove around looking for Anna, but again, no sign of her. It was starting to get dark, so at about 9 p.m, Geraldine and Patrick went to the police station and reported Anna missing. So obviously they had very little information and could only tell them that she had gone off with a boy, and they didn't even know his name.
Yeah.
So obviously the first task was to find out who he was and to start from there.
Yeah.
So using Patrick's description of the boy, the police checked through all the boys in Anna's class and managed to find his full name and address by process of elimination. So the police went to Boy B's house and his mum answered the door. So Boy B stood behind her as she was talking to the officers, and his dad said that he looked surprised that the police were there. They asked him if he had seen Anna, and he told them that he had called at her house earlier and they had gone to the park together, but then shortly afterwards they went their separate ways, and he went home and assumed that she'd also gone to her house. So throughout the night, Geraldine and Patrick's family and friends helped them look for Anna, and she still hadn't been found by the following day, so police allocated more officers to the search. There was a press release with recent pictures of Anna and appealing for anyone to come forward with any information. So police decided to pay Boy B another visit, since he was the last person to be seen with her, and this time he told them details that he hadn't told them the day before.
Right, okay.
So he told them that he had actually knocked on Anna's door on behalf of his friend, Boy A.
Okay.
Who Anna allegedly had a crush on.
Right.
So Boy B took Anna to the park to meet Boy A, who wanted to tell Anna that he wasn't interested in her.
Okay, so is that why maybe she might have been interested or happy to go?
Because she was going to meet him.
Meet Boy A, who she had maybe had a crush on, but he wasn't going to be very nice to her, was it? Because he was.
But she didn't know that. Or, I'm assuming that, Boy A wants you to come and meet him, so she's probably like, oh, nice one. Like, is he actually interested in me?
Yeah.
So Boy B said that he left Anna with his friend and he didn't know what happened to her after that.
Mm-hmm.
So both boys at this point were being treated as witnesses, and with both of their parents' permission, officers took them to St Andrew's Park and asked Boy B to retrace his steps with Anna.
Mm-hmm.
So Boy B took them along the exact route that him and Anna had walked, and as they entered the park, and where he had left her with Boy A, and also showed them the route that he had taken home, and Boy A showed them his route there and back as well. But they stopped beside the BMX track in the park, and the officers noticed that the boys sort of exchanged a look, and they were immediately suspicious about this look.
Yeah.
They felt that there was something that the boys weren't telling them. So the decision was then made to take the boys to the police station to take statements from them.
Right.
And another suspicion was that Boy A was limping and he was holding his arm. So he also had scrapes on his knuckles and cuts and scratches on his face. When asked why, he claimed that he'd been assaulted by a couple of boys in the park on the evening of Anna's disappearance.
Right.
Convenient.
Of course it is.
He said that he had said goodbye to Anna and started walking home when these two older boys attacked him. He said he was knocked to the ground and he was kicked and punched. He managed to fight them off and he kicked one of them in the head and then they ran off. Of course that was bullshit. Because I'm like, there's 2 against 1. They're not going to run off. I'm sorry, but no, they might let you run off.
Aye, exactly.
But they're not going to run off because they're scared of you.
No.
There's no happening.
No danger.
So large teams of police and volunteers had been spread out across St Catherine's Park in the immediate area, and they'd been combing the park like inch by inch, and they came upon Glenwood House, which was about a mile away from the park. This was like an old vacant property damaged by fire. Parts of the roof had collapsed, so it was basically derelict. And I'm just going to put a trigger warning in here, as I'm going to go into detail about injuries and sexual assault.
Okay.
So if anybody doesn't want to listen to that, just skip ahead a bit. So it was the 17th of May 2018, and one of the sergeants entered the house and went into a room. He said that the room was poorly lit, with light only coming from a little hole that had been punched through one of the boarded up windows. But when he went into that room, he saw what he described as a mannequin. But on closer inspection, he realised it was the body of a young, naked girl. So unfortunately, they had found Anna and she was dead. As I said, she was naked, but apart from, she had a pair of socks on. So apart from that, she was naked.
Right.
The rest of her clothes were scattered around the room, and so was pieces of her iPhone. So near her body was a cement block and a large stick, both of which were blood-stained. There was also blood on the walls and the floor, which had came from all the wounds on her body. She had blue insulation tape around her neck. Her head was tilted back, and 3 of her fingers were behind the tape. So she'd been like trying to pull the tape off her neck. The pathologist, Marie Cassidy, reported that Anna had sustained over 55 sites of injury on her body. When she attended the scene, she found that areas of Anna's body were covered in layers of dust and debris. She said it was her impression that Anna was injured close to the doorway of the room and her body was found and then... Sorry, start that sentence again. She said that it was her impression that Anna was injured close to the doorway of the room where her body was found, and then she was moved further into the room.
Right.
So most of her injuries were confined to her head and neck. She had extensive bruising on her face, with irregular splits in her scalp. There were fractures to her eye socket, upper jaw, cheekbone, and to the cartilage in her neck. There were 4 lacerations to the back of her head, 3 on one side and 1 on the other. There were multiple lacerations to her face and neck, and there was also a 11.5 centimetre laceration down the left side of her face. Anna also suffered bruising to her hands and arms, injuries the pathologist said were consistent with defensive wounds. So she was fighting. She fought back. She was fighting for her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she also suffered hemorrhage into the lining inside her eyelids. And this is probably from being strangled.
Jeez.
So Marie Cassidy determined the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head or compression to the neck. She also found evidence of bruising at the mons pubis, which is the area of fat around the pubic bone.
Mm-hmm.
So there was also fresh bleeding to areas of the vagina. There was evidence that there had been an attempt at penetration, but there was no foreign material inside.
Okay.
She said that Anna may have been unconscious or otherwise restrained when the alleged attempted penetration occurred. The pathologist also theorised that Anna had died just 45 minutes after she'd left her house.
Oh.
So the whole time everybody was out looking for her, unfortunately,
She
she was already gone.
Bloody hell.
So now this was a murder investigation, and the last people to see Anna alive were boy A and boy B. So of course they were no longer witnesses, they were the prime suspects.
Absolutely.
So about a week after Anna's body was found, the two boys were arrested and taken in for questioning. Given their ages, 13, precautions were put in place, and the parents were actually given notice of a pending arrest the day before the police arrived at their doors.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't really understand why,
Don't know.
but
I'm assuming did they not tell the boys?
I don't know. But I don't know, they got notice of arrest, so they got told that they were going to be arrested, which
Alright,
I don't know. So their houses were searched and a number of items were seized as part of the investigation. So Michael O'Higgins, senior counsel, said about the boys, when you get people who have done things like that, they would have had exposure to professionals like psychologists. They would have had difficulty in school, difficulties at home, but in this case there was none of that. These boys came from very respectable backgrounds, and there didn't appear to be anything which would give a clue as to what they were going to do. There was just nothing. Just your average teenage boys, like, and being brought up in a stable home. And anyway, so while the boy start that again. While the boys were being questioned, forensic teams were analysing evidence from the crime scene and items that were seized from the boys' houses. So the tests were fast-tracked, and boy A was subsequently charged with Anna's murder, as his semen was found on Anna's top.
Okay.
They had also found a backpack in the wardrobe in his bedroom, and in that backpack was gloves, knee pads, shin guards, a snood and a mask. There was blood on the inside and outside of the backpack that turned out to be Anna's. The mask was also covered in her blood, and this mask sounds horrible. It covered half of the face. The eyes were covered in a black paint, and the bottom of it was jagged to look like teeth. Oh. So boy A made it himself and must have been wearing it when he murdered Anna. God. I mean, it's bad enough that he's murdering her, but with a scary mask on as well. Anna's DNA was also on the other items found in the backpack, so that became known as the murder kit.
Yeah.
A pair of boots that boy A had been wearing, initially they were taken because it was thought that they would provide clues as to who had attacked boy A, because remember, he got assaulted.
Of course he did, yeah.
This was obviously before he was a suspect, but it turned out the blood stains on the boots belonged to Anna, and by the pattern of the blood, it was determined that either boy A murdered Anna or was in very close proximity to her when she sustained those injuries. So he was there.
He was the prime suspect, I would say.
So boy A denied being the one who killed Anna, and when the police showed him the boots, I mean, he said something along the lines of, are you joking me? Or are you being serious? No, they're just telling you that for the good of their health.
Exactly, of course they've been bloody serious.
It's the police. Somebody's been murdered.
Yeah, duh.
So the officers told him that they believed he was in the room when Anna was murdered, and he said he hadn't, and then he wouldn't talk after that. All his answers were no comment. So the forensic evidence against boy A was undeniable, but there was little physical evidence connecting boy B to the crime. But in a series of police interviews, the boy's story began to unravel. For the first few interviews, he stuck to the same story. He said that he'd been asked to go to Anna's house that day to take her to boy A. He said that boy A had told him that he knew Anna was interested in him, and he wanted to tell her that he wasn't interested in her. But I just think, well, if that was me, I'd be like, well, if you want to speak to her and you're not interested in her, you go to the door yourself. Why am I doing it for you?
But then, to be fair, I mean, I remember when I was younger, we went on a school camp, and we obviously, a few of us girls had boyfriends, and for some reason everybody decided to dump all their boyfriends and girlfriends, but you'd get the friend to go and do the dumping rather than doing it yourself. So
yeah,
I kind of get it.
This is these are children.
Yeah.
You know, I think when you're talking about murder, you forget that some people are so young. Like, and at 13 years old, that's how a 13-year-old's mind would work. Isn't it? Well, you go and get her for me. Like, yeah. So he said that he got Anna, took her to Boy B. He stayed for a few minutes and then he went home and left them together. So that was his story and he was sticking to it. But a witness in St. Catherine's Park came forward and disproved Boy B's initial version of the events. This witness said that they had seen Boy B by the farmhouse where Anna had been murdered. But of course that's nowhere he took Anna.
No, he took her to the park,
Yeah, so when officers put that to Boy B, he said that the first time that the police had gone to his house, his mind was blank and he couldn't remember what had happened, so he'd lied. He said he was too scared to say that he couldn't remember. So now, he said the truth was that he did go into the field, he did go up to the abandoned farmhouse, but he didn't go into the house.
Right. Was he like a lookout or something?
Yeah, he said he waited outside while his friend and Anna went inside to talk about, as he put it, relationship issues.
Right.
They weren't even in a relationship.
I there was no relationship.
He said he heard a scream as he was leaving, and he said, quote, the scream was like really loud. Just before it ended, it got muffled like someone covered her mouth, end quote. He said he was really frightened and he ran away. He said, quote, I left and that's when I heard the scream and then I ran. It was a really strong scream. I knew that it was Anna, but since Boy A was there, she'd be fine, he'd protect her, end quote. So basically he was saying he thought that Boy A and Anna were being attacked by somebody else.
Yeah, or like she'd had an accident or something maybe.
No, that's what he's saying.
He said they was attacked. Oh, right, okay.
He thought that they were being attacked by somebody else. So Anna and Boy A were being attacked and Anna screamed, but she'd be okay because Boy A would protect her.
Right,
that's
so
what he was saying.
Right, okay. Well,
so the police were still convinced that he was more involved than what he was letting on. And they kept pushing and pushing. And at one point, Boy B asked his mum to leave because obviously his mum had been in the interviews. So the detectives told him that under the law, under the Children's Act, your mother has to remain because of your age.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So he was like, oh, right, okay. But he did begin to talk. So obviously he didn't want his mum to hear, but then realised she was going to have to hear.
She was going to have to hear it.
He said that he'd realised that for the thing to be right, he had to tell them. So out of the goodness of his heart, he's decided to tell them.
Oh, how nice of him.
Know that they were closing in on him.
Oh, yeah.
So it took some time to go through it all about the attack, about his presence at the crime scene, and about what Boy A had told him about his intention to kill Anna. He said that Boy A and Anna started to approach the house, and he said that Boy A had like a blank type of look on his face, and he said that he showed no emotion whatsoever.
Right.
He told police that Boy A told him to leave at that point, but he didn't. He watched Boy A and Anna enter the house and he said he heard shuffling, so he also went into the house and he saw Boy A choking Anna and pulling off her trousers and that he had flipped her over.
Right.
Then Boy A turned around and saw Boy B standing in the doorway and that's when he ran away. So the detectives put it to Boy B that he actually went into the house first to check that it was empty. And once he saw the coast was clear, it was thumbs up to Boy A that it was time to murder Anna. And that he was actually complicit and he was part of this entire plan for murder, and that's what the case against Boy B came down to. So he's admitted that he was there, but what they needed to find out was he complicit? Did he know what was going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Did he check everything? Like, was it he was on the lookout or checking things were all right?
But the question of whether Boy B was complicit in the murder came down to a conversation that the boys had had a month previously. So Boy A admitted that did I say Boy B there? Boy B admitted that Boy A asked him, do you want to kill someone? And Boy B said he had replied no. Boy A said, come on, why not? Boy B asked who he planned on killing, and Boy A told him Anna Kriegel. And Boy B said, in your dreams. He told the officers that he didn't think that Boy A was being serious, and at no point he ever believed that Boy A would actually murder Anna.
Okay.
So of course the police didn't believe this, because why else was he luring Anna to meet Boy A and going to a dirty abandoned house?
Exactly.
So, you know.
Because to me, I mean, if it was totally innocent and boy A had what to tell Anna that he wasn't interested, they would have just done that at the park.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they would have lured her somewhere else to do that. Obviously, boy B was taken to the park, could have said what he had to say, and that was that. So to me, I'm like, well, no, you've lured her to another place, so...
Yeah, I mean, he must have known what was going to happen, or at least knew that it was possible.
Yeah.
And the fact that if he knew, I mean, the way that I see it is, well, he's admitted that they've had this conversation.
Yeah.
So even if he didn't believe it, right up until that time when they went to that abandoned house, surely and he's heard her scream, surely he could have went and told somebody. He could have ran, or I don't know if he had a phone, but...
The fact that he agreed to even go to Anna's house for her, knowing what they'd talked about previously, to me that makes him just as bad. It makes him part of it, because he's agreed to go and get her out of her house and take her to meet Boy A. So, and I said knowing in the back of his head that they've had that conversation about killing her, he's helped that happen.
Yeah.
He's helped Anna get out of the house, so he is part of that. Whether he actually committed the killing or not, he's still
complicit.
Complicit in it, absolutely.
So the trial lasted 6 weeks, and it took the jury 14 hours of deliberations before it was ready to deliver a verdict. So they were both found guilty of murder, and they were the youngest people in the history of the Republic of Ireland to be charged with murder.
Wow.
Boy A was also charged with aggravated sexual assault. Boy A was sentenced to life with a review after 12 years, and additionally he was sentenced to 12 years for the sexual assault, but that sentence was to run alongside the murder sentence. Don't get it. But, Boy B was sentenced to 15 years, and that will be reviewed after 8 years.
Right.
And both the boys were granted lifelong anonymity. Did I get it right?
You got it right. But before you go any further, how the hell has Boy B got an actual longer sentence than Boy A?
He hasn't.
Well, he got 15 years, you said, and then Boy B got 12.
No, Boy A was sentenced to life with a review after 12 years.
Sorry.
So yeah, Boy A got life, the review's after 12 years. Boy B was 15 years, which will be reviewed after 8 years.
Right, okay, sorry.
And they were both, I'm going to do it again, just because I did it the first time, right? Both the boys were granted lifelong anonymity. No!
Right, shut up, move on.
Anonymity.
You did it right the first time, let's not go over it anymore.
So, I'm just laughing because like a lot of our listeners are probably like, what's the big deal? Just because we've had a, I think it was our very first one actually, with Mary Bell.
Yeah.
And I could not say that word.
I think we've probably had a few in various episodes where we cannot pronounce things. So
we cannot pronounce that word.
Especially that word being the most common one, so it's always a little victory when we manage it. But then you just ruined it because you could have just carried on and nobody would have been none the wiser.
Okay, anyway, they'll get new identities when they get released to it. Oh, that just really infuriates me.
Yes.
So both boys were held in the Oberstown detention centre in North Dublin until 2022, and then they were transferred to an adult prison. So they're in an adult prison now, because they would have turned. Well, no, actually, how old would they have been? Because that was 2014. No, 2018 it was.
Yeah, so
that's only 4 years.
So it'd be 17.
Well, no, by the time they actually got sentenced, they were probably 14 by the time.
Yeah.
So it would have been when they were 18.
Yeah, right, that's fair enough.
They've been transferred to an adult prison.
So that's been what, 2018? What, we're in 2023, so that's 5 years ago.
So 4 years they got, because it was last year they got transferred.
Yeah.
So they would have been 18.
So the boy B's got another couple of years before being reviewed then.
Where are we? 5 years after.
Yeah. So another 3 years.
Yeah. That's just the review, mind.
Yeah, obviously that's just the review, yeah, obviously.
Which, I mean, depending on how he's behaved, they probably will, if he's let him out, because he didn't actually do the murder. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, still disgusting what he did.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that he lured her, but I mean, the actual murder was horrendous.
He won't be seen as a big as a threat to society as obviously Boy A would be, because he's not the one that's carried out the physical attack or murder.
So Anna's funeral was on the 31st of May 2018. Her family requested that mourners wear sparkle and colour in Anna's memory, and that donations be made to the Russian-Irish adoption group. Mm-hmm. A Russian flag and a Matryoshka doll were placed on her coffin. So the doll, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's, you know those Russian dolls, the wooden ones, where you fit one inside of the other?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Uh-huh.
So they were put on her coffin, so to remember Russian roots.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I don't... This thing with the new identities, I'm like...
Thing is, kids always get that.
I get it, because, you know...
What they're like as kids isn't... You know, as adults, they're different. And
yeah.
Maybe they have a chance to actually rehabilitate and then be able to live their lives without having that...
hanging over them. But on the other side, it's like, but they could just get this child, Anna, has died, has been murdered brutally, and that's her life over, but yet they get to live their life over when they get out. I mean, if that one gets out in 3 years, he'll be like...
He's early 20s.
Yeah, exactly. He's got his whole life, and he doesn't have to tell anybody that he's done that. So he'll be able to do whatever job he wants, you know, like his career, like get... new wife, you know, marry somebody, have kids and all that without that person knowing.
I know. Imagine that though. Imagine if like you've met someone, married someone, and then
not knowing that.
It turns out like when they were a kid they've done something really bad that they've been in prison for, and I don't know. It is a difficult one. I mean, it is a difficult one. It's very subjective to what people think about it, because some people might think, oh well, you know what, he was just a kid at the time, so you know he's obviously been punished for it. He's done his time. He's been punished. Yeah. He shouldn't have to live with that. But I don't know. I'm just like, but you got to look at the victim. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but she lost her life. She doesn't get to live her life. She doesn't get to grow up and potentially have kids, get married, have a great job, whatever. So why does this person get to do all that without anybody knowing what you've actually done? Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we're just outsiders, but to actually look at it from Anna's family as point of view. No, if that was my daughter that had been murdered at 14, I'd be like, no, why the hell should he get a new identity? Like, that's... I don't care how old he was. That what happened to the... Is it Jamie Bulger? Is that what his name was? Yeah, James Bulger. James Bulger, and they got the name change and stuff, but then the mum obviously has tried, like, to get, you know, like, kept in prison, and then did not... Oh, one of them deserved to be kept in prison. He's a pedo. Yeah, and but she, like, was, like, totally highlighting and keeping the names, like, the names out there and stuff, and just... Yeah, but keeping their names out there is not going to do much when it's not their names anymore. No. I think one of them has been all right. I'm not going to name names because I don't know which one it is, but I think one of them is pretty much just under the radar now. But the other one's been in and out of prison for like sex stuff. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm very... It's a hard one. It is a hard one. But anyway, thank you to everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye. If you would like to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter and Instagram, which is crime_divers_pod. We are also on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, which is CrimeDivers Podcast. If you would like to get in contact with us, you can email us on crime_divers_pod@outlook.com. And if you would like to support the show, we have Buy Me a Coffee, so that's buymeacoffee.com/CrimeDivers, and you can make a one-off donation. And we also have Patreon, which is patreon.com/CrimeDivers. We have 3 tiers, which are £1, £3 and £5, and you get your bonus content, early access to episodes, ad-free episodes, and obviously that will be in your own currency, whichever country you live in. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review.